In 1938, radio surpassed magazines in generating advertisement profits. Advertisers often use a technique called affective condition, which means they take a product and place it next to other things consumers feel positively about. For example, a detergent ad will juxtapose their brand with babies, sunshine, flowers, or other similar items. Repeatedly showing their brand with these items makes consumers feel good about the detergent, too. Now, 1900, the standard billboard was created in America, creating a billboard boon along streets and highways. Credit scoring got a huge boost in 1995 when the U.S.'s two largest mortgage finance agencies, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, recommended lenders use FICO credit scores. Their recommendation carried enormous weight in the home loan industry. A new study finds that the best strategy for advertisers trying to persuade a skeptical audience is to leave out facts and focus more on emotional ads. On the flip side, it found that those who are less skeptical are more persuaded by more information-based ads. In 2011, a portion of the Dodd-Frank financial reform bill required lenders to disclose credit scores to applicants. Satellite images of America's most famous malls, like the Mall of Georgia, show fuller parking lots than the last 2 years, pointing to a strong end to the retail year. However, parking lot images don't take into other factors, such as online shoppers. Fast food companies, soda, fast food, and cereal in the U.S. spent about $1.6 billion in advertising in 2006. The amount of credit card debt outstanding rose nearly threefold between 1990 and 2002, from $173 billion to $661 billion. In advertisements for children, child actors are typically older than the target audience. For example, a commercial for 8-year-olds will show 11 or 12-year-old models playing with an 8-year-old toy. Advertisers use older children as role models, as an image of what younger children will want to be like. Doyle Dane Bernbach's Think Small ad for Volkswagen at the end of the 1950s is considered particularly brilliant because it took a German car initially created for Hitler and successfully sold it to post-war Americans. Credit scoring has been around for several decades, and by the end of the 1970s, most major lenders used some kind of credit scoring formula to decide whether to accept or reject applications. In a national survey, more than half of the children who responded reported that buying certain advertised products made them feel better about themselves. Many kids are plugged into some kind of media for more than 7 hours a day, which means their exposure to advertising is at record levels. Many doorbuster deals advertised on Black Friday, such as those on expensive items like HD TVs, are typically in very limited supplies, maybe just 4 to 6 per store, and act merely as lures to attract customers. Researchers have proven that a 50% off sign leads in increased sales, even if shoppers don't know the original price, or what a reasonable price for the product would be. On average, African American and Latino households have worse credit scores than white households. The first advertisement, widely believed to be the first to feature a homosexual couple, aired in 1994, when an IKEA ad featured two male companions shopping together for furniture. In the United States, there are three major credit bureaus: Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. Each bureau tracks how credit is used, and each issues its own credit score. Because each bureau has slightly different information, their scores tend to vary, sometimes significantly. More than 8 million people fall victim to identity theft in the U.S. each year. Consumers spend hundreds of millions of hours trying to resolve the problem, stop the fraud, and clear up their credit reports. In the United States, credit scores don't factor in income, race, religion, and ethnicity. However, it is not clear whether the result of these formulas is actually non-discriminatory. For example, seasonal work is prevalent in some neighborhoods, which can lead to a higher rate of non-payment in the off-season. Consumers' use of credit cards to shop during the 2010 holiday season is the lowest since 2002. More Americans are expected to use their debit cards or cash for holiday purchases to ensure they don't go over their budget. Major credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, and Diners Club, are typically better for a credit score than department or finance companies. Microsoft allegedly paid the Rolling Stones $9 million to use their hit "Start Me Up" in its Windows 95 advertisements. Additionally, unknown songs by new artists can become hits overnight because of their association with a popular advertisement. For example, "Cansé de Ser Sexy's Music is My Hot Hot Sex" became popular when Apple used their song to advertise its iPod. In 2009, holiday sales represented 19.1% of total retail industry sales. Jewelry stores typically receive most of their sales, 29.5%, during the holidays. For some retailers, holiday sales make up between 25 to 50% of total sales. Many retailers hope that starting the Christmas season earlier will result in buying earlier and buying more. There is a difference between credit reports and credit scores. Reports show a person's history of using credit, including both opened and closed accounts, payment history, credit limits, and amounts owed. The score, a FICO score, is based on this information and ranges from a low of 300 to a high of 850. Using sex to sell a product is not new. Advertisers have used sex to sell products since the early days of modern advertising. For example, pictures of naked women were placed in tobacco ads in the 1800s. Studies show that repeated exposure to a stimulus that is barely perceptible creates an exposure effect, which increases positive feelings toward the object. For example, even though most people do not click banner ads, the ads still positively influence the way people feel about the product. In fact, the wear-out effect of banner ads did not appear even after 20 exposures. The average child in America watches over 40,000 television commercials in a year, or over 100 a day. In 2009, stores hired an additional 453,600 workers for the holiday shopping season. In 2008, retailers only hired 231,000.